Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Living with Audacity. I am your host, Aisha, and it is such a pleasure to be here with you today. As always, and as I share, I hope you are enjoying the podcast. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, do all the things. So today's topic, as always, because I say this every single time, is another great topic because every topic that I talk about is great, okay? Let's just get that straight. But today's topic is about embracing our boldness in small, everyday ways, right? It really is about understanding that audacity isn't about being loud. It's actually about being consistent. And this is a bit of a myth because when we hear the word audacity, when we hear the word bold, what comes to you? Right? I know before I kind of really started to understand what it meant to be audacious, I really believed that being bold meant that you had to be out there, like just loud and making sure that everybody knew that you were in the room. And even though sometimes I kind of present that way, I definitely let it be known that I'm in a room. Just want to put it out there, whether it's the glasses, it's the shoes, it's the hat. I like to do all the things. But today I really want us to explore what it means to be bold and how do we do it in a way, or how do we break this myth that says, oh, you got to let everybody know what's happening all the time, but rather what are the consistent ways that we show up with audacity and that we show up with boldness, right? And so one of the things, as I said, that we really need to get clear on is to be bold doesn't have to be loud. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to have this, spark or these fireworks that says, hey, look at what I'm doing. These are all the amazing things that are happening in my life. And I know in the era of social media, it almost like perpetuates the opposite, that you got to let people know what's happening every single minute, right? That's the demonstration of boldness. That's the demonstration of you doing something. But the truth is the quietness, the small movements, the little incremental steps, the consistency in doing what you do to move to a place of greatness and really affirming yourself and your purpose. That's what it means to be bold in this audacious stuff, in this audacious space. And so I really want to take some time to kind of break it down and really help you understand. And again, this is a bit of a journey for me because I used to believe, as I said, being bold meant that I had to be out there. And I think naturally I'm an extrovert, right? I don't know that I could convince anybody that I am an introvert. I've tried it before and I just get the bombastic side eye like, girl, bye. But even as an extrovert, even as someone who likes to be out there, one of the things that I've learned is how to make movements, how to be bold, how to demonstrate my audaciousness. But again, in those quiet, small, powerful, but incremental and consistent steps. And as always, when I come into this space, I want to make sure that I'm, sharing tangible actions that are going to help you mobilize and move forward. And so I saw this incredible quote that spoke volumes to me. And it says, small hinges swing big doors. I'm going to say that again because I saw it the other day and I was like, oof, like that one was giving. So small hinges swings big doors. And I think when we're talking about being bold, I think it's so powerful because again, we've stepped into an era where it's so important, or we believe that's so important to consistently tell people what are all the great things that we're doing? What are all the great things that are happening? I actually get a lot of slack for that, particularly from my best friend. She's like, you're never telling me all the things that are happening in your life, what you're doing, all these big moves that are happening. And I think I get it. I understand because she wants to share in my glory. And this is not just isolated to her. I get a lot of friends that are like, Aisha, why do I continue to go online and see you're getting an award or you're doing this workshop or you're part of this group, or like, tell us. But I think for me, what I've learned is that I don't need to always put myself out there. What I want people to see is that I'm consistent and relentless in my pursuit of greatness. I'm relentless in my pursuit of making an impact and creating and curating spaces for people to also realize that they can self-actualize and self-discover and really become aware of what their purpose and their power is. That really is what it means to be bold. That's where I've reframed my understanding of what it means to be bold and to live audaciously. And so, again, true audacity or true boldness is about being consistent. Now, consistency can be hard, right? Because consistency means that it's basically a routine, and much of our lives are routine. We get up. I don't know if you have kids, you make lunch, you get them on the bus, you get dressed, you go to work. Like much of life is consistent. And so sometimes consistency can feel mundane. And I know when I'm doing coaching, people are like, oh my God, I'm so tired of all the consistency. But I want you to think differently about what this consistency looks like. right? If you are seeking to really plant your feet, ground yourself in what your purpose and your power is, the consistency is that key, right? Those are the things that mobilize us. Those are the things that keep us desiring to continue to do better, because it's in that consistency that we start to see those wins. Right? As I've shared many times, I know a lot of times when we're talking about being bold, when we talk about achieving life, when we talk about achieving our goals, we're always hyper-focused on that end game. Like, I have reached this goal, and so now I have an opportunity to celebrate. And what I've learned in this process, what I consistently share as a coach, as I hopefully impart on you in this space, is that it is those small, impactful, incremental, consistent actions where we really start to see our power, where we recognize that we have to continue to show up for ourselves, because what we're reaping is probably far beyond what we thought we were going to reap with that big goal, right? So when we're looking at being bold, again, keep the words bold and consistency together. They're almost married, like a beautiful couple, right? And so again, today I really want to invite you to rethink what boldness looks like and how we start to be bold in this audacious life, right? And so what are some small actions? Because again, I am a doer. I don't just like to come into this space in this podcast and say, these are what being bold looks like. No, I want to give you some tangible actions that you can start to do in your day-to-day in an effort to, again, continue to live with audacity and to show up boldly. Take what you want to take, maneuver what you want to maneuver. Obviously, the things that I'm sharing are based on my lived experience, based on my perspective. And maybe there's something that you need to take from what I'm sharing and tweak it. By all means, do it. But I want you to try it, right? There's no loss in trying to do something differently, especially if you're committed to living audaciously. And so really, when we talk about it, it's those small acts. Those small acts of boldness, you know what they do? And again, this is something that I learned along my own journey, is that you start to build your own self-trust. I truly have faith in myself. I think I've shared it in a different podcast, that I know even if I'm going down a path that I'm unsure of, that I really don't know what the end outcome is going to be, I have such a level of trust in myself that I know I'm not going to lead myself astray. Is it going to be the best outcome? Maybe not. Am I going to maybe do something wrong? It's very possible. But I trust in myself enough that I'm not going to intentionally lead myself astray. And that has come with those bold, incremental, and what's the word? Consistent actions, right? So you really start to see yourself differently as you, again, take these bold micro steps that result in a positive outcome. Really, you start to own your space. You really begin to feel that, like, yes, I know that I am someone who's going to lead with strength, with intention, with power, and really ultimately hit what my goal is. And really, when we make these bold choices, and again, I want to reaffirm or reframe what bold is. When I'm using the word bold, it doesn't mean it's just this big flashing like this is a bold action, everyone. Look at me. I'm out here doing my thing. It's not about that, right? It's not about that. It really is about almost that undercurrent, right? Think about, I actually just thought about that. Look at me. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, oh, that's a really great idea. But think about the undercurrent, right? When you look at water, you see what's happening on the top. You don't know the power and the pull that is happening under that water till you get in that water. That's really what audacious living is. That's really what bold action is. It's undercurrent of that consistency that continues to pull you and pull you and pull you and pull you. Right now in water, obviously that can be dangerous. But in this life, in this space that we're talking about, it's a powerful tool, because what it is it's pulling you closer towards whatever your desired end game is, whatever your desired outcome is, right? So allow yourself to really reframe actions as being bold steps towards whatever your desired state is. And the other thing that I want to talk about, and something that I've shared in multiple podcasts, is that as we get engaged, as we continue to do these bold actions, what we start to see is we shift into more alignment, right? Nothing that I do in my professional and truly in my personal life happens not in alignment. Now, can I prevent everything? No, right? Do I sometimes find myself in spaces where I'm like, this isn't really in alignment with what I believe? Sometimes I don't have a choice. But like paying taxes is not necessarily in my alignment, but it's adulting, so I got to do it. But I say that to say, as again, we take these bold actions and we take these incremental steps and these consistent steps, what we start to see is we shed the things, the actions that no longer serve us, that really aren't leading us to our end game, to our desired state, and hyper focus and curating and creating actions that again are in alignment with our values and our beliefs. And that is really where we start to feel that inner change. Have you ever done something in your life and you're like, honestly, if no one says congratulations or you're proud of yourself, like I'm going to say congratulations for myself because I can recognize where I have put in this work, where I've been consistent, where I've been resilient, where I have not allowed, things that are happening around me to derail me from my goal. Like I am going to celebrate myself. That is what happens again when we engage in this bold action and really start to put emphasis on, as I said, whatever our desired state is. So what does it mean, right? Like, again, how do we start to reframe and change this mindset? If you are starting a business, if you're looking to go back to school, if you're looking to change your career, if you're looking to, I don't know, maybe get a divorce. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of things happening in people's lives. This doesn't just have to be around entrepreneurship and business. This is about life. Life is about bold and consistent actions that are going to take us from point A to point B, whatever that end game is. But it requires consistency and it requires a commitment to desire to change, right? So what does quiet audacity look like? And again, it's a bit of an oxymoron, right? Because I'm talking about being bold and really doing the thing, but then I'm also talking about quiet audacity. And again, the quiet audacity is in alignment with this bold action because what I'm talking about is, again, making these intentional, impactful steps, but doing it quietly, like that undercurrent. So that when you do put yourself out there, people are like, huh, like what was happening? Like all these things were happening behind the scenes. I had no idea. Yeah, man, there's nothing better. I'm going to be honest. There's nothing better than operating quietly and then stepping out grandly. I don't even know if that's a word. That doesn't make sense. Stepping out like in a big way. We're gonna correct that because I don't think grandly is a way. I say these things. You guys know this. If you listen to my podcast, you know I make up a lot of words, and sometimes I will say things, and I'm like, that don't make no sense. My mother also watches this podcast. She's not an English major, but her English is very good, and she's like, Aisha, you can't be out here not speaking proper. Sorry, Mom. I know grandly is not a word now, but we're gonna let that go and focus on the point, right? But again, what does it mean to be quietly audacious, but again, continue to be bold? So it really is about that consistency. As I said, it's saying no to something. And I love boundaries. I did a podcast on this, all about the beautiful, powerful word of no. But if we're going to quietly move audaciously and build bold actions, then that is one of the first guiding principles, is that we got to get comfortable with saying no, establishing our boundaries, because we cannot be expelling our good time, energy, and effort on things, people, places, and things that don't matter. So you have to get comfortable with saying no and establishing boundaries. Another big one, which is huge, and I've had a few people in my life, I feel like this week is about really asking for what you need, telling people what it is that you want, and how it is that, what they're saying, what they're sharing is making you feel. That's a really powerful one because it can be difficult, right? Even as an adult, to openly express what is it that I need, whether it's at work, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's with friends, whether it's with your spouse, it's not easy. It's definitely still something that I'm still like, I'm not someone who avoids, but like, I guess if I can avoid it, I'll avoid it, right? But asking for what you need is also so important in establishing these bold actions. Again, bold actions isn't just about the end outcome that also takes you to this goal. Bold action is, again, what is it that I'm doing internally? How am I reshaping, reframing? How am I redoing, unlearning, and bringing in new understanding around what it means to live audaciously? And so these bold actions that I'm sharing with you right now, which is, again, establishing boundaries, learning to say no, being able to ask for what you want, is about these bold actions that are, again, going to create a new mindset that is going to allow you to do the things that you are really committed to doing. It can look like speaking up, right? We don't always do that. Like in our head, I've had many conversations where like, if I could just say this. No, speak up. We have a voice for a reason, and we cannot take up space if we're not able to say and speak and use our voice, right? So be willing to also take up that space. Speak up if you feel like you need to, right? As I said, it's about setting boundaries. That is an act of love, right? It is an act of love for you. It is an act of love for, the individual. So be willing to say, no, thank you. And another one, which I love to share, it is about taking up space. Okay. Now, again, taking up space doesn't mean you need to do this. Hello, everyone. I'm here. You don't have to do that. I mean, you can if you want, but as I said, I don't know that it might not resonate with everyone. But taking up space means that, again, when you enter into a room, you are letting people know that I belong. You might not have invited me. Might not have brought me to the table, but I'm going to pull up a chair, right? That's what it means to take up space, right? These are all the bold moves. These are all the ways in which you continue to show up for yourself and start to, or continue to, because some of us are already out here living audaciously. I don't want to assume that anybody who's watching this isn't living audaciously. If you are living audaciously, let me know, because I'm out here trying to find more audacious people and building a whole community. So let a girl know. But also, if you are on your journey to living audaciously, these are the bold steps that you can take. Right? No matter where you are on your audacious journey, you're either, standing 10 toes down, as they say, 10 toes down, in these bold actions, or if you are just on your journey of living with audacity, that these are some of the things that you're going to start to implement in your life. And so what are three, I always like to share some of the things that I've done in my own journey, and it is a journey that continues. I by no means am perfect, and perfection doesn't exist. We always need to be in a space that we need to grow and learn and undo and, and bring new things in. So I by no means am in a space of perfection at all. But I do want to share kind of three small moves that I continue to implement in my day-to-day, very similar to kind of the guiding principles that I just talked about. But one of them is, again, the bold no. I am so hyper comfortable with saying no. And that is no at work. That is no in my personal life. And again, no isn't a means of creating anger or hardship for others. It is just showing myself an act of love when I know I need to press pause or I need to take a break, right? So getting really comfortable with the word no and establishing and holding fort to those boundaries. Because let me tell you something, people will push. You give people, what is it? You give people an inch, they'll take a mile. Yeah, man. Human instinct dictates that the more you give is the more people will take. Not necessarily maliciously, but that is just human nature. So staying firm in your no is so important. Also the audacious ask. Now, this has been a journey for me because I've always been someone who felt and believed or operated, not necessarily believed, but operated in a way that was like, no, I'm not going to ask people for help. And the reason why I didn't ask people for help is because I felt like I didn't want to burden people, as I knew other people were dealing with their own stuff. And I've had so many people in my life who are in my circle who continue to just nurture me and love me and say, Aisha, you show up in so many ways for me. Please allow me to show up for you. So I had to get comfortable with the audacious ask and asking people for help and asking people, to join me on this journey, or the areas that I wasn't strong in to step in or to help me. I could tell you now, I am all about the audacious ask. Once I know that it is not a talent, I am calling in all the stops. I'm calling everybody. But what it has resulted in is my own personal greatness, is being able to, again, really show up in my fulsome self, affirmed and confirmed in who I am, and not being afraid, right, to ask for the things that I need in my life. Again, whether it's personally or professionally. And last one is the visible victory, right? I mean, while I have gotten in time comfortable with putting myself out there, it is so important for people to know that you are also willing to celebrate yourself. Do I love an accolade? Absolutely. Do I love a little pat on the shoulder? Absolutely. Do I love people to say, you've done a great job? Of course, we all love that sentiment. But I also need to show people that I am deeply proud of myself. I need to be able to say that. I need to be able to show that. I need to be able to emulate that, because I want people to also know and get comfortable with celebrating themselves in a very open and visible way, right? So Of the things that I've shared, maybe pick one, maybe you're doing one, commit to all, commit to one, but be willing to make these changes in your life so that you, again, are taking these bold actions, that you're living audaciously, that you are, getting closer and closer to what your desired state is, whatever that looks like, but be willing to commit, right? Because that's the bold action, right? That's the consistency, is the commitment to continue to evolve and grow. And so I want you to remember, when we talk about living audaciously, that every single choice we make, for the most part, is one step closer to living with audacity, right? That every action has an impact. It might seem minuscule, it might seem microscopic, but believe me, that one incremental decision could have the biggest ripple effect. It could be the game changer in our day-to-day that reaffirms or reestablishes an area that we were doubting in our audacious journey. So just be willing to put that out there, right? And it ultimately is about us stepping into our truest version. That's what it means to live with audacity, is what is our truest version, right? That's what we're always seeking in ourselves. So it's don't be focused on, again, when we're talking about being bold, don't be focused on the big boisterous actions. It's the small incremental and what's the word? Consistent actions that take us closer to our audacious life. And so as, maybe you're starting this week, closing this week. I don't know when you watch this podcast. Hopefully you watch this podcast at the top of the week, because I really love to set people's week off on a high note. But no matter where you are, again, don't put a date on this. Don't say, okay, you know what? I'm going to start this bold action or my audacious life on Monday, June 1st, right? We always have a tendency to do that. We have a tendency to put these dates on when actions need to happen. No, again, they're incremental. So start now. Start this minute, after you finish watching this podcast, of course, and after you finish subscribing and liking and sharing and offering a comment, right? I really hope that through this episode, you understand to live audaciously, as I always say, isn't about throwing yourself out there. It isn't about going viral. It isn't about, getting the million views, although it's nice. It is about how are we making consistent impact where we're on this trajectory of greatness. Because once you hit, when you go to the airport, they have those movators where you're just gliding. That's what you're seeking in your life, right? You're seeking to just continue to move forward, but in a way where there's minimal disruption, because everything that you do is in alignment with your values and beliefs. And everything that you do is with the understanding that you are continuing to be on your journey to greatness and stepping into your purpose and stepping into your power. And once you hit that stride, listen, it's a feeling that can't be explained. It is just a feeling, and there's no greater feeling. And so I want you, again, to continue to explore all the ways that you're going to live audaciously. If there's a bold action that you're going to take up, let your girl know. Like I think I've said it before, I love to be people's cheerleaders. If there's nobody in your corner that's out here celebrating the things that you're doing, send your girl a DM, send me a comment. I will absolutely be in your corner celebrating the bold, incremental, consistent actions that you're doing that are taking you one step closer. Right? Don't feel like everybody has to be on board. Sometimes it's just that one person. Sometimes it's just you. Sometimes you just giving yourself the grace and the love to say, you've done a good job. And for all the things that are happening around you, you stay committed to your greatness. That is really what you're ultimately looking for, right? Everything else is a beautiful addition, but make sure you're proud of yourself and that you're giving yourself grace and you're showing yourself gratitude for the steps that you continue to take. Right? And this is it. Again, the bold action, stay committed, stay consistent, live with audacity, stay unapologetic, be authentic, all the things, right? And again, as you continue on your journey, let a girl know. You want a cheerleader? I'm here. All right? I want to thank you for another incredible episode of Living with Audacity. I want to wish you well. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things, and I will see you in another episode.